Good morning, everyone. Our host for today's event is a highly sought after event host and moderator. She is a news anchor and finance professor who received her PhD in management engineering from the Politecnico di Milano in Italy and her MBA from Universidad Carlos III de Madrid in Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Miss Dani Laurel.
Thank you so much and happy Wednesday to everyone. Good morning. All right, so I'm so happy to be seeing such an amazing turnout here. Apart from the audience here face to face, we also have more than 500 people joining us via Zoom. So this is such a wonderful opportunity to discuss co-creation for impact, harnessing the power of the workplace. I know it sounds, at the moment a bit fluffy. What is co-creation? What do we mean by impact? But I assure you that by the end of the next couple of hours, we will be leaving this room with some very concrete and practical takeaways. And I'm sure we have wonderful guests here who have flown in from Singapore, from Hong Kong, all the way to share their insights and knowledge. Now, this forum has been organized specifically for you, of course, by Colliers Philippines. This is a leading diversified professional services and investment management company. We would like to thank our partners. We have with us CWC Interiors, our friends from CWC. Thank you so much. CWC is a multi-product company that provides holistic office solutions. We also have with us our friends from MillerKnoll. MillerKnoll. This is, of course, the world's leading office and home furniture brand, and Moser Associates, a globally renowned designer of workplaces. Thank you once again to our media and chamber partners. We saw some of those videos earlier today. ABS-CBN News Channel, or ANC, the Philippine Daily Inquirer through Inquirer Property, Business World, the Makati Business Club, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, and the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. Now, we will be having keynote presentations, so save your questions because we will have a panel discussion right after that. And then we will be opening our floor to questions from you guys. And for those of us in Zoom, don't fret. You have the Q&A box right there. So just send in your questions and that will be sent to me to throw to our panelists here. Now, I want to recognize, first of all, before beginning, our keynote speakers and panel members. We have with us Colliers Asia Pacific's Managing Director for Occupier Services, that is Mike Davis. He will actually be joining us via Zoom later on. We have the beautiful Tatiana Gomez. She's here, Our Lady in Fuchsia from MillerKnoll. We also have from Moser Associates, Mr. June Pagalilawan. I hope I said that correctly, sir. And of course, from Neo Group, Raymond Rufino. And from Telstra International, Mr. George Rizal. So thank you so much for gracing us today. Now, what will we be talking about? Of course, we are faced with such a dynamic landscape in terms of work, in terms of the professional environment. And we will be thinking of two things to be integrating as we navigate this transition towards this dynamism. On the one hand, innovative design, and that's why we've invited design experts. How do we create design practices for today's professional environmental needs? And very interestingly, and I'm super curious, artificial intelligence, okay? So combining these two things, innovative design, artificial intelligence, is actually what we're trying to achieve today. These two things have significantly redefined the ways in which we do our work, and we will be discussing, exploring how those two realms converge for us to be empowered to thrive in this digital age. We will be looking at the synergies between design and AI and trying together to envision a future where workplaces are not just literal places of work, not just places that are functional, but places where transformation and creation occurs. And to kick off this wonderful discussion, let me please call on for her opening remarks, Colliers Philippines' Senior Manager for Office Services, Tenant Representation, Ms. Vida Samaco.
Thank you, Danny. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Co-Creation for Impact, Harnessing the Power of the Workplace. We are thrilled to see such a diverse group of professionals and thought leaders gathered here today. So, in our dynamic world where change is the only constant, the topics that we're about to discuss today is design with impact and artificial intelligence. So today, we aim to explore and decipher their profound impact on our professional landscapes. First, this event is more than a knowledge sharing platform. It's a forum for meaningful conversations. We have created discussions that not only provide a valuable insights for businesses navigating this new world, but also foster a dialogue with clients. It's about co-creation and enduring value, working together to shape a future where our workplaces are not just spaces, but a dynamic entities that fuel innovation and growth. So, let's embark on this journey together, share our insights, and create spaces for meaningful conversations. So, thank you, and let's watch this video first, and let's create impact. Thank you.
All right, let's kick off those meaningful conversations. And without further ado, I have the honor of presenting our event's featured presenter. He is responsible for growing Collier's Asia Pacific's occupier service business across office, data center, and industrial sectors. He collaborates with experts to bring forward looking guidance and insights to multinational clients, helping companies maximize the potential of their property portfolios in the region. He has 20 years of experience in global commercial real estate leadership roles and is responsible for managing and developing teams across service lines. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming via Zoom Collier's Asia Pacific's Managing Director for Occupier Services, Mr. Mike Davis. Mike?
Thanks for having me, and apologies for not being there in person today. I had a prior commitment that required me to be in Singapore. Otherwise, I absolutely would be there. And thanks for the opportunity to be a part of this panel of industry leaders. I'm honored to open for the real talent amongst the speakers today, Tatiana at MillerKnoll and June at Moser. It's a tremendous opportunity to be here, and we have a tremendous opportunity in front of us with the changes to office space over the past few years. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing some slides here. All right, can you see my screen? I will assume the answer is yes. So offices
Yes.
have offices have evolved and undergone massive transformation, and this pace of change has increased over the past 3 to 4 years, largely fueled by the pandemic, the emergence of new technology, and climate action imperatives. So, against this backdrop, I'll break my thoughts on this topic into what are the actual powers of the workplace, the core strategies we can use to harness these powers, and actionable insights or steps required to execute upon those strategies. So first and foremost, the biggest power that workplaces have today is their role in helping to win the battle for talent. Korn Ferry is forecasting a shortage of 85 million workers by 2030. On top of that, real estate is typically 8% of the cost of business, but the cost of talent can be up to 80%. To leverage this power, the most befitting strategy is to use offices as a talent recruitment and retention tool. So first, we should examine how real estate strategy can support that talent recruitment and retention and the goals, and then align those with your company's hiring approach, such as maybe opening new locations to counter a talent crunch in core markets, or making remote work a greater part of the employee base. We should ensure that our offices play to talent strengths. Offices can better engage new talent by facilitating learning, allowing training, and speaking to a consistent corporate identity. So jumping into the slides, hybrid work is increasingly playing a role in the battle for talent. While it is less of a factor in APAC than places like the US, it does matter to employees. According to our survey of attendees at the Singapore Cornet Summit in March, which there are about 800 attendees, of those respondents, nearly half of those surveyed said the biggest benefit to hybrid work is providing their employees a better work-life balance. And work-life balance is increasingly becoming a focus of employees where they evaluate where they want to work. Next, we should communicate corporate principles to current and prospective hires and demonstrate those in practice. Employees want to see how the company's ESG and DE&I principles manifest itself in everyday workplace realities through choices like accessibility features or emphasis on low carbon buildings. Most importantly, companies should drive employee wellness with a strategic focus on office locations and design. So, recommendations for occupiers. First, planning and resources should be channeled proactively to facilitate these shifts in the enterprise's approach to hiring, such as, like I said, opening new locations to counter a shortage of talent, or making remote or even international workers a greater part of your employee base. Secondly, as the central repository of knowledge and culture, the office is a particularly critical environment for new employees and those teams that are seeking opportunities for training, development, integration of your organizational culture. Offices can better engage new talent by facilitating learning and speaking to a consistent corporate identity, and thought should be put into how to translate those approaches to the remote work environment. And third, like I said, it's no longer enough to simply express ESG and DE&I commitments. Employees want to see action on it. Secondly, the second most critical power of the workplace is the potential to reinforce your organization's vision, culture, and values. We can leverage this power by reimagining the workplace to lure and not force people back to the office. We've seen in many markets, mostly outside of Asia, that mandates don't really work. Also, employers see remote work as damaging cultural cohesion and negatively impacting talent that's in need of training and mentorship. In terms of actionable steps to bring alignment with this, first, it's key to first align your corporate and your talent value. The organization's vision and values have become decisive factors for workers when they're evaluating who they want to work for. Make space and expression of your culture and space that's conducive to work collaboration. The interplay between space and work must be well captured with a curated environment that exhibits openness, warmth, and dynamism that fosters enhanced collaboration and team bonding. As our global head of client experience based in the US, a gentleman named Chris Lockey says, the office in the future is going to be intentional. You're going to go there for a reason and not just to work with your head down or sit on Zoom calls. The main disadvantage of hybrid work, according to our surveys, is that 60% of respondents fear either loss of cultural identity or employee engagement. And fostering a culture that keeps employees engaged and finding a way to extend that culture beyond the physical confines of the office is critical. While return to office is less of an issue for those of us in Asia Pacific, it is important to continue to give employees a reason to want to return to the office. As a point of comparison, I'm sure many of you have heard that many markets across Asia Pacific are at 90% return to office, while that number is 50% or below across most of the US. And employees there are voting with their feet by changing jobs in favor of companies that allow them to stay home. Some companies are considering experimenting with furniture as a service models, FAST models. FAST offers an opportunity for adaptability, frequent refreshments of interior, and to make and evaluate bolder design or functionality choices. And this will create a livelier environment that further distinguishes the workplace from the home office and enables teams to test changes to space. And also worth noting, flexibility doesn't need to be endless. As it gets clear to the group how the office is being used, this context should enable closer tailoring of that layout to people's priorities. It ends up creating an organic environment that is adapted to the culture and your working style for your business. So, recommendations for occupiers. First, the concept of workplace must be reassessed. Many people work can just as feasibly be done at home or remotely, or so they think. So its role needs to evolve to capture and express the culture of your organization and that interplay between work and space. Providing curated environments for spontaneous and planned collaboration, team bonding is important as the office steps into a more social role. Secondly, fast emerging services like FAST creates a livelier environment that further distinguishes that workplace from the home office and allows your organization to test or pilot changes to space without excessive risk or waste. And finally, creating modular spaces or adopting as a service strategies allows for experimentation in the short term, but in the long run, flexibility doesn't have to be and really shouldn't be endless. As it becomes clear how the office is being used, this context should inform closer tailoring of the layout to the priorities of the people within it. And this creates that organic environment that is adapted to the culture and the working style of your business rather than trying to be all things to all comers. Third, it's important to understand the power of your office in driving performance, growth, and resilience. And to do that, it's key to hit the right portfolio mix. The action plan around this should include keeping flex space in focus. Facilitate your workplace strategy around the theme, work where you want, when you want, how you want. Per our survey results, 2/3 of respondents see co-working impacting between 0 and 20% of their total number of leases. That's not square footage, that's number of leases. So traditional leases will continue to form the core of a portfolio, but should also continue to serve a role in return to office and portfolio strategy for those that value flexibility. Explore shorter lease terms and flexible space to drive efficiency and create diverse portfolios that cater to different ways of working. And this can be considered a form of diversity as well. Some people need collaborative space, while others, whether it's the more introverted or like me, the easily distracted, we need quiet space. Also, per our survey results, 2/3 of the respondents foresee using between 11 to 40% less space as a result of hybrid work. And of course, hybrid work is that combination of being in the office, working from home, and then flex space utilization. Also, very importantly, quality matters more than quantity. Optimal locations, high quality amenities, high quality fit outs help draw those hybrid workers back into a central space, fostering that atmosphere that's conducive to socializing, team building, creativity, and again, reinforcing that organizational identity. We are seeing a flight to quality in most major markets across Asia Pacific and across the globe. And I would also say cracking the future code of the office is key, and that requires understanding how your people want to work, and that preferences may differ. Survey your staff and incorporate more flexibility into the portfolio to strike a best of all worlds scenario where your workers are offered access to a range of locations that fit their varying needs, and the enterprise can manage space more dynamically. Our CoreNet survey indicated that over half of attendees define successful utilization of the office Monday through Thursday. Of course, nobody wants to work in the office on Fridays, but Monday through Thursday, successful utilization is between 65 and 80%, which is the same ratio as before COVID. Now, that's not to say people are achieving that across Asia Pacific or across the globe, but that's what everyone defines as successful utilization of your office. So the keys to success for hybrid work, according to the respondents, is first, managers ensuring that time in the office is valuable for the employees. Secondly, it's a focus on design, amenities, wellness, and sustainability. By 2025, Gen Z will make up a quarter of APAC's population, and focus on these initiatives will attract the future workforce. This is, a generation that's growing up observing this hybrid work scenario, the work from home situation, and that's what they're going to come to expect as they enter the workforce and continue in the workforce. And then finally, reducing space and embracing hybrid work. So, recommendations for occupiers. Optimal locations, high quality amenities, and fit outs will help draw those hybrid workers back into the central space. Secondly, understand how your people want to work and that their preferences may differ. Survey your staff and incorporate more flexibility into your portfolio. And finally, by examining data on demographics and changing employee expectations, employers can structure a portfolio that attracts a skilled and more diverse workforce. Fourth, workplace's power to maximize the potential of technology cannot be ignored. Pave the way for technology adoption and enablement across your locations. Explore dashboards for better use and analysis of data, dashboards that effectively aggregate data and allow it to be displayed in ways that are meaningful to your organization. Could be the difference between simply having information and having the ability to understand and analyze that data to inform specific action. Think through a dedicated and sustainable technology policy. The rules and expectations around technology and data usage are constantly evolving, especially for organizations that work across different jurisdictions. It will be important to establish some ground rules around issues like data monitoring, collection, and security, to ensure the organization is not just compliant, but also seen as a strong steward of personal information by employees, but also other stakeholders. And ensure tech investments are fit for real estate purposes. It's important to examine different technologies with a critical eye to ensure they will contribute directly to portfolio performance or some form of real estate ROI, and then set a realistic roadmap for adoption. So, recommendations for occupiers: use dashboards to aggregate data and help you determine the so what from that information. Secondly, establish ground rules around issues like data monitoring and collection to ensure your organization is protecting that information. And finally, the rapid pace of innovation means there's a regular stream of new tech solutions that promise to resolve various challenges. Given the expertise required, it's often advisable to seek a partner to help inform you through this process. And finally, don't miss the power of the workplace in accelerating your ESG goals. Translate your ESG ambitions into concrete action with employees as part of that ESG equation. Recent years have driven home the point that the need for action with respect to the environment is real, and employees want to work for organizations that embrace the role that real estate has in contributing to a company's net zero goals. Most companies that I talk to have some sort of ESG initiative, but for a lot of them, those goals remain fairly aspirational, and they still have to try to figure out how to implement and achieve those goals. So start with building ESG into portfolio decisions from the beginning. Locations should be carefully evaluated based on environmental and accessibility criteria from the very beginning. And one way we can impact that is through implementing green lease clauses. map out how time and even regulatory changes may impact the viability of assets. It's important to anticipate these trends and make decisions that put the enterprise ahead of the curve as much as possible. And be tactical. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all sustainability approach. So rather than trying to do it all, try to be specific and have feasible courses of action that can be rolled out to multiple locations swiftly and build momentum for further future change. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is a critical consideration for ESG compliant real estate strategies and goals. It's about creating workplaces that offer a well-being and DE&I friendly environment, and then factoring in those considerations from the get-go. So recommendations for occupiers with respect to ESG: locations should be carefully evaluated based on environmental and accessibility criteria from the beginning. Secondly, competition for talent has never been fiercer. By making DE&I and employee feedback intrinsic to decision-making, occupiers can identify or develop the right spaces in the right locations to attract and retain the broadest possible range of people, fostering a multitude of skills and that are truly representative of employee communities. And equally important is to listen to staff when they articulate their needs and then try to cater those needs in a way that supports both their aspirations and those of the business. And finally, like I said, there's no one-size-fits-all sustainability approach or strategy that works for one organization may not be feasible for another organization. So rather than trying to do it all, try to identify specific and feasible courses of action. And that's it for me. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Manila team. And of course, you can feel free to contact me directly.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. That was such a great presentation. I mean, when you listen to it, it seems like it all makes sense, but then nobody really laid it down that way. And, my key takeaway from your presentation, we've always talked about profit, people, planet, but then now it's more people and it's more planet before profit, I think, in terms of the strategies that you're trying to push forward. So thank you for that. And we'll go back to the things that you discussed later on in the panel discussion. At this point, I would like to introduce our next speaker. She is a creative designer and is currently a workplace strategist and consultant over at MillerKnoll. She is an adaptable professional with a multicultural background and vast experience across the Asia-Pacific region, Europe, and Latin America, and has 16 years of professional experience working in different fields of design and consultancy, such as urban planning, workplace design, landscape architecture, project management, and consultancy. Let's all please welcome the lead of workplace and consultancy services for Asia Pacific and the Middle East at MillerKnoll, Tatiana Gomez.
How is everyone feeling? Great. I know some of you took a long way to Manila traffic. We are all accustomed. So I know all of you have a quick start. So today with my presentation, I'm hoping to inspire you, for you to have some takeaways, for you to have a lot of questions. So hopefully today's presentation is going to arise a lot of questions for you to take back to your teams. So as Mike was actually mentioning in the conversation, now the big topic and the heart of the conversation is about people. Yeah, we wonder about what happens with the people, the place, and how do we connect them, and how do we actually bring them back into the office. This is something that we have seen majority of companies struggling worldwide. And of course, for you working in the real estate business is something that you should be looking into in detail. So before we jump into my presentation, who are we? So we are basically the largest manufacturing of furniture in the world. So some of you might know us as Herman Miller. Now we are called MillerKnoll, so I'm representing global businesses from MillerKnoll. We do design and manufacture products for places where you live, where you work. where you relax, where you heal. So we are not only in the office furniture business, but we are also in different businesses. And what is our portfolio? So you might be interested to know that our largest footprint is on manufacturing. So 75% is on manufacturing and distribution. Only 10% of our real estate portfolio is belongs to our corporate offices, and 15% is our retail and showroom business. So today, our Insight presentation is called Design with Impact. So we have understood that change in where and how we work has become the heart of the conversation. And actually, all eyes are into what is the future of the workplace. So workplace policies and return to work strategies are abundant, but the root of what they are trying to solve is complex and is different. So we have understood that there are opportunities and challenges. However, these challenges and opportunities are different for different industries. So what you can see here, we have a big question mark, what is going to happen in our office spaces? But the problems or the challenges that companies and industries are facing are quite different. So people and companies and our customers are coming back to us and asking like, okay, we have lower productivity, or we cannot bring people back into the office, or we are struggling with collaboration. So there's a huge complexity in the things that companies want to solve. So we have understood that flexibility has become an expectation, and I'm just going to be sharing a couple of data that we have collected, and we were actually participating in something called the Future Forum report. So we have a couple of data coming from 3 different reports from last year and from the report that was issued this year in February 2023. So what do people want? So when we actually ask people, what do you want? They want a greater level of flexibility. So 81% people want flexibility. 93% they want flexibility in the schedules. So flexibility means different things for companies and for people. And a very interesting data that has come out of the final report this year in February says that around 59% of working mothers, and this is very interesting for me because I'm a female and I have a family, females want to have a greater level of flexibility. So females are identifying that they would like to be in the working remotely 3 to 5 days out of the week. So that's some interesting data for you guys to look into, especially Philippines or for other markets with a large growing workforce of females. So we know that things are not, there are pros and cons in flexibility. These are some of the positive aspects of actually having greater flexibility. So people who have been given the power of having flexibility on where or how they work, or even having the possibility of working remotely at least 1 day out of the week, they have identified that they are more productive. So the productivity has gone up, and they have a greater focus because they are able to actually choose where do they take calls, where do they do focus work. However, we have understood that people who have greater levels of flexibility actually suffer for 5 different elements that we have found out in our research and with our customers. So the first thing that we have seen is having a great impact is peer collaboration, because we are not coming at exactly the same time. The second one is mentorship. people are not coming into the office that often, or my manager is not there for me to actually just grab him and ask him a question. So mentorship is actually in the decrease. Also having feedback, honest feedback. Did I do it well? Is there room for improvement? Actually, the feedback we have identified, especially with the younger generations and newcomers, they have identified this is a big problem now in the workplace. Weaker ties. So when you ask people, how well are you connected to your organization? People have identified, I don't feel that connected. Even though I'm hyper connected with Teams, with Zoom, with Slack, with all the apps that we have available, that we have at our fingertips, people are identifying they are not connected to the company culture. And lastly, and one of the most important things to look into, there's actually not a clear path for career development. So a couple of things for you guys to consider. So we're not gonna say that the office is dead. There is a purpose for the office. And when we ask people, do you wanna come back to the office? They actually say, yes, absolutely. We wanna come back to the office. So 85% of employees want to come back to the office. However, the reasons why they want to come back to the office are more related to social element and social aspect. So what are the things that we have identified ranked by percentage of importance? So we have collaboration, camaraderie, so friendship. I'm coming because I'm going to come and see my friend. I'm going to catch up. I'm going to have a quick chat. I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. In other regions of the world, it happens that I haven't seen my manager for 6 months or so. So I only see him virtually, but I haven't seen him in person. Of course, in-person meetings is very important to actually have your managers seeing you. So that thing that you want to be seen in the workplace and have meaningful conversations and in-person meetings. And some people have identified that they cannot work remotely. They cannot work at home, or they cannot work in a work cafe or in a satellite office. So people need a quiet space to work from, and this is why they're coming back into the office. So with greater challenges, there are greater opportunities, and we have seen historically that there's always a good opportunity and there's always a great opportunity out of crisis. So now that we exited all the pandemic, we see that they are great challenges, but great opportunities. And what we are seeing is that we're actually reshaping the purpose of the workplace and why we're coming into offices. So these are some of the big topics that we have heard from our customers. And if you remember at the beginning of the conversation, I was saying like different companies that have different challenges and different opportunities. We have grouped them in 3 big topics. So the first one has to be with well-being, and this is something that Mike addressed in his speech. The second one is about connection, and we are coming back into the office to connect with one another. And the last one, change. So companies are evolving, business goals are evolving. We are looking into optimizations of real estate, ESGC, flexibility, also industry benchmarking. How do we attract talent? It comes in change. So let's look into each one of these 3 chapters. What does it mean, or what we have identified? And I want to start this chapter with this phrase, and it's basically change in where and how we work has become at the heart of the conversation. So what does it mean to design spaces with impact? So the first one, well-being, and this is one that really is close to my heart. Well-being understood that are those things that basically give you some comfort and makes you feel good. They are 3 things and those experiences of having a well-being experience. So we talk about the physical experience, psychological, and social experience. So how do you translate that into the workplace? So the first one, and this could be very obvious, but sometimes we overlook at these things. Holistic ergonomics. How can we support holistic ergonomics in the workplace? Are you guys familiar with this? Sit to stand, ergonomic chairs, laptop stand and ergo stand when you're working remotely or you're working from home. So this is basically holistic ergonomics. The second one, space division and materiality. What does it happen when you actually look into different levels of privacy, different ways of enclosing or semi-enclosing spaces? So if you look at the screen, you can see different settings, different types of materiality. So you do not necessarily need or have to enclose spaces to create different moods within the workplace. So for example, you see here some of our products that are mobile. So the bookshelf that you see is mobile, it's on casters. So if you needed to remove, if you actually need to expand the space, if you want to bring some more seating, it's very easy for the team to do so and adapt the space. Some of the products that we have in our portfolio to address space division and materiality. And how will that look like, space division and materiality in a large space? So if you look carefully into this photograph, we have at least 6 different settings to address different types of working, different types of privacy. So just think about it, look at it. Also, what is that right balance between the materiality of the interior design space and how do you merge and match that with the materiality and finishes of the furniture? Choice in settings. We do not all work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 in exactly the same positions. It's proven that we need to stand up at least 5 minutes every hour or so. And we need different choice of settings. Sometimes, for some projects, I just want to be in a phone booth, but for some other task, I might need to be with my team, or I will just power through meetings for a whole week. So let's look into choice in settings. So what you see here is a right balance and transition between fully open spaces to semi-open to private spaces. So think about this when you are designing your workplace. So in conclusion, what do we see well-being is? So it's a summary of holistic ergonomics, voice and choice. This is related to noise and privacy. Hospitality elements, and some industries have actually been leading real estate property, technology, and fashion companies have actually led with the hospitality look and feel in the office spaces. So you all have concierge. It's something very easy to see, a little robot greeting you, a hologram, having the experience that you might have or you will have had if you go to check in into a hotel. Respite and restored. This is very important. We need to take breaks and we need to facilitate those spaces for people to actually debrief and do not think about work. And lastly, biophilic design. So how do we bring nature? How do we bring light? What is the right balance for my business or for my industry? So that is on well-being. Then connection. It's not enough to just bring people together. So it's very interesting that Mike actually talked about mandates. Mandates are not working. We have seen this less working or working less in the US or in Europe. We see that this is working a little bit better in the Middle East and in Asia Pacific. However, it's not about bringing people together. It's about what happened next and how do you bring them back into the office. So the first thing is creating meaningful neighborhoods. How do we create different neighborhoods that are not related or assigned to my business unit, but that are more related to the way how we work. So this is just a snapshot of exercise that we did with the fintech in Latin America. We have understood there is value in face-to-face communication. This is what I am doing the presentation here. I'm not doing it virtually because it's much easier to communicate. And even though we are hyper connected with technology, studies have proven that it's more effective to meet 20 minutes in person than when you meet for an hour virtually. So just think about it. So create spaces for improv connections. It's not only about having the right meeting spaces, having the right neighborhood, but also creating those areas that can actually create those social elements. So you can come in, you can have a coffee, sit down for 5 or 10 minutes, catch up with your manager. So how do we do that? We are seeing, and this is something that has been growing and has been accelerated. This is not something that came out of the pandemic. We have seen this has been accelerated in the past 10 years, and it's basically how do we create spaces that bring people together. And we have seen a huge need on creating these multi-purpose, multifunctional spaces that are more social. So it's a space that has the right technology, has different types of furniture, different heights. So it works perfectly for people connecting when they are in person, but also when they are working remotely. So this address, for example, big town halls, quarterly meetings, team meetings. Hospitality influences. This is just a snapshot of how hospitality influence could look like. It's not only about the concierge. It's not only about having a massage chair in one of your respite rooms. It's not only about having a membership to a gym or even having a gym within the floor plate, but also designing spaces that look a little bit more like a work cafe or a place that looks a little bit more homey. Equitable experience, and this is something that we have been struggling since around 10 to 15 years, since we have all gone into the trend of ABW and open offices. So what does it mean to have equitable experiences? Think about employees with reduced mobility. We are not all the same height. We do not have the same needs. So think about something as simple as a projector screen. How do you actually set it up in the room? What is the adequate height? The height of a light switch. If someone with on a wheelchair with reduced mobility, what happens when that person comes into the workplace? Is it easy for that person to move around the space? Is it easy for that person to actually go to the printer or access simple admin stuff? And think about 3 levels of experiences that are actually coming out of the pandemic. So we're looking into the individual experience. We're looking into group experiences that are related to how do I meet with my team, with my immediate team and my manager, and the other ones, the social experiences. So when we talk about the equitable experience, it's not only about the physicality, but also how do the teams work and what are the processes. I do assure you that a finance team does not work in exactly the same manner as a sales or a manager or a marketing team. So we have identified, this is through our research, this is a document that we called Teams at Work. This is a Herman Miller piece. And we have understood that teams are working a little bit like an orchestra. So maybe this way it would be easier for you guys to remember it. So there are teams that work more like soloists. There are teams that work more like studio musicians. And there are teams that work like an orchestra or teams that work on a jazz assembly. So jazz assembly, think about designers. You have design and conquer spaces, but each one goes and does their task, and then they come back together and create a project. So that is on the way of a quitable experience for teams. But what happens also with our states of mind? So this is another piece of research that we have from 2018. And it says that throughout the day, our mind goes through 5 different stages of mind. So we go from really high concentration to low concentration. This is depending on the way how you work. Are you a morning person, or are you a person who works better in the afternoon, or you work better at night? So it goes from a very high level of concentration where you are locked in. So you tend to go into a room, you tend to go into your private office. Then you are half open. So maybe you're sitting within your team, but you have your headset. So people can see you are there, but you're actually giving a little hint, like, I'm here, but I am busy because I have my headset. Opportunistic is someone who actually works and thrives when they are in the burst. So, those people that are always there in the action, in the work cafe, by the reception, in those very social people in the workplace that can actually work better when they have noise and people around. Glide, so when you need to re-energize and you need to have low concentrations, and this happens when you go for a smoke break, for a coffee break, when you're actually replying back to an email, but you are on the way to a meeting, you're commuting elsewhere, so your level of concentration is very low. When you do admin work, we all have to power through good 2 to 3 hours per week on replying back to emails, doing finance stuff, the non-fun admin things that we have to do in the week. And lastly, restore. So we all need time to even go for a walk. So people like to go for a walk. People like to go for a smoke break. People would like to go into the mother's room, or that room that has the massage chair, or that space where you can actually just go in and relax for 5 minutes. So there are 5 states of mind for individual work that we should be looking into when we design spaces. This is a phrase from a scientist that collaborates with us, and it has been collaborating in us in some of our research pieces and in some of our talks. And Paul Sack, and he actually says that human beings are neurologically wired to seek positive social experiences. These experiences encounters stimulating the brain, making people more cooperative and caring towards others within the group. And this brings us to our last chapter, that is basically on change. That was a short animation of basically giving you a couple of ideas how you can reconfigure spaces. So it's not necessarily about reinvesting every 5 or 10 years in different sets and pieces of furniture, but it's basically buying adequate movable space furniture that can actually adapt to different spaces. So that brings us to looking into pilots, and this is something that is been very popular, very hot topic in Asia Pacific and the Middle East. Companies are still deciding whether or not they want to release or optimize portfolios. And what we have seen is greater interest in testing pilots. So making sure that whatever they're going to be deploying in the future actually works and is proven. So the first one is with pilots. The second one, we have seen a need not only to be flexible in the way how we work and where we work, but also creating that flexibility in the spaces. And how do we create adaptable spaces? It might be easier and simpler that we first think of. And one of the things that we always talk with our customers is looking to designing with modularity, how you can actually plan a scenario A, B, and C. So you plan for day 1, day 2, and day 3, thinking about expansion, thinking about growth, thinking about different teams' needs. And power of technology. What doesn't happen, we are all hyper-connected, but it seems that somehow we're losing a little bit of the interpersonal touch, the connection. We're actually craving to come back into the office. If I am putting time in to come back into the office, most likely is to actually do in-face or in-person meetings, formal and informal. And what we said here, if we look at the next photograph, is how do we actually provide tools and technology that are not interfering with connecting and connectivity. So if you look at the screen, this has a little bit of a home feeling. It makes you feel really at ease. It's a space for connecting, but it's a space that is provided with movable partitions, so you can actually reconfigure the space as you wish. The partition in the middle, it has integrated TV and VC, so if there are people joining remotely on hybrid, what does it happen and how can we do this? So it's basically, how do we bring that technology that is not interfering and is not everywhere in our spaces? And to wrap up today's insight topic by Herman Miller, I'd like to finish with this phrase. This isn't the time for a one-size-fits-all answer. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to redefine the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Wonderful presentation and definitely worth seeing you in person for this. All right, there's a lot to be discussed later on, and personally, I have quite a lot of questions regarding that design and how that influences the ways in which we work. And yeah, that's so interesting. All right, our next speaker will be leading. Who will be speaking today actually leads Moser's 3D architectural visualization team. He is an architect by profession who also took a masterclass in visualization at the State of Art Academy in Italy and an internship in architectural visualization animation at Brick Academy in Budapest. He is the recipient of several awards and recognitions, including an Ani ng Dangal Award on architectural and commercial photography through visual arts, which was given by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to introduce Moser Associates Visualization Manager, June Pagalilalwan. June, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be back in Manila. So all the images and videos I will be sharing for you today is generated by artificial intelligence. It's pretty subjective topic nowadays on how humans and artificial intelligence will work together.
Today, we'll share artificial intelligence and its influence in architecture and interior design while simultaneously revolutionizing traditional workplace roles and practices across various industries. In the design world, we will also show some of our AI explorations in different areas of our industries as we continue to explore the possibilities of artificial intelligence.
So this year is the year of artificial intelligence. If you're familiar with Midjourney, ChatGPT, StableD, these are some tools that have been changing the creative process of some of the designers and developers. This is the era for co-creation together with AI. Because AI have been in the market for the past few years, but this year, there are specific generative AI landscape for this year. And looking at it, the first thing you ask yourself is where to start. These are the available AI tools in the market today. And every month, there's a new AI tool that have been developed and being patented. The top generative AI industry applications for 2023 are image manipulation, videos, software coding, and chatbot performance. So if you're familiar with this, I believe you guys are using some of the tools that have been available in the market. So the concept of co-creation with AI involves a human creative thinking. AI doesn't replace human in terms of workforce, especially for the creative process. It rather serves as a super tool that help us work as part of our secondary brain. AI and humans will be working together. So I categorize AI in two different stages, theory and application. If you're doing AI in terms of theory, it classifies between methodology and algorithm. This is your personal approach in creating AI. The other side will be the application, which is the conceptual and creativity. These are AI-generated images based on my personal methodology and algorithm. So, if you're working with AI, the first thing you'll be encountering is prompt crafting. Prompt crafting is something that you key in terms of words. And from there, AI will give you a generative images in terms of working. AI needs a human skill set to rationalize a project or a space. From there, once you feed the data, AI will give you specific images based on your information. Prompt crafting are text, image, and text plus image. And these are the images that I have generated based on the prompts that I key in. So, if you work on advanced and extend prompting, I can easily key in keywords based on my project. Let's say bamboo pavilion. And from there, AI will start working on the design without me thinking. So these are the variations that AI can feed me. And once I work with my own personal methodology and algorithm, I can able to start a concrete project based on the idea that I envisioned. And you can see the consistency of the design because of the algorithm of AI. So, co-creation with AI refers to humans and machines working together. Because of this, AI can generate new ideas or even solving problems. This morning, I will share to you my personal overview on how AI works on my workflow to together with sections and AI-generated images, and how my creativity boosts using AI. The first section that I want to share is the ideation and conceptualization. This section serves as an AI tools that generate new ideas and concepts. So AI can give me a new approach of giving ideas or concept. This is done in LookX. Technically, it's just a scratch paper, but 5 to 10 seconds, AI can give me an idea that he wants to envoy based on my prompts. And even a simple sketch, AI can give me an idea on how the structure will look like. The materials, the facade, are prompt using my algorithm. Another approach for AI is that we've been using the old school sketch in architectural and interior industry. And I just feed this through Stable Diffusion, and AI gives me the idea on how my building looks like. 5, 10 seconds, I have these generated images on my table. And it also includes interior. So through word or prompting, AI can give me a full rendered generated image. It's not pretty similar, but at least the idea is there in terms of concept. So word prompts. AI depends on your words. The prompts are the ones that's being fed to the machine in which AI can start generating. So as simple as the design or the structure, AI can give me a lot of samples that I want. And it also involves some specific areas that I just want to edit. And if I want to play with some of the weather, I can easily play with different types of moods. And again, we can also use it for interior spaces. So another section or another approach for me is the visualization and design. AI can create ideas very fast and effective. Material boards. These are non-existing materials, but rather generated images which are prompted through Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. And through material boards, I was able to convey my design, again using the algorithm of AI, to different spaces. So you can see how AI works in terms of the color themes and the materials which we can reflect to the spaces being generated. Color schemes. AI tools give us color schemes that can work together based on the design intent that we want. So you can see the continuity or the harmony of the design being generated by AI, based again on the color schemes that we feed. And we can also work for bigger spaces. So again, based on the material boards that I have compiled, AI will reflect all of this to the space that I prompt. Feasibility study and prototyping. With the use of AI tools, I can easily design a concept of a project non-existing for feasibility study. And this is a feasibility study of a hotel in Ifugao that we took some feedbacks on the social media. With this approach, I can easily improve my design and adjust any feedbacks that the public wants. We also have one section, we call it the analytical creativity. Analytical creativity is something that you feed AI with the exact analysis. So this subject is given with a specific information on how we want AI produce this type of concepts. And it can give me a different options with just one click in front of Midjourney. And with the help of these options, I can easily rate the design that I want and then come out with the best design that I can easily propose to my client. And we can easily collaborate with brands and with products using, again, AI. Design pattern detection. Design pattern detection usually works with teams or specific spaces. AI tools help me generate specific areas on how I want the design look like. So you can see all the color palettes, even how the space is being used. AI can easily feed me all these informations, and I can easily pick one which I want. And finally, the design trend evaluation. AI works on trends based on the data it gathered through the web. It mimics our brain, and it's similar on how the trends works. Through this, AI can give me a future brands or the next color palettes that the market will be using. And because of the data of the AI gathered from the web, it can anticipate which color palettes are designed that which the market will be using for the next following months or years. And these are just proposals that I've been working on how color palettes works based on the data given by the artificial intelligence. Personal learning and skill development. AI platforms are available commercially if you want to work on it. And I tried to look on how AI works in a different ways since I've been working mostly for architecture and interior proposals or personal projects. I've challenged AI to create a storyboard based on, I guess you guys are familiar with it, Blade Runner. So I generated images in AI using a specific storyline of the Blade Runner. And this is the result.
Step into the cybernetic world of Blade Runner 2049 like never before, as AI technology brings you an electrifying trailer that mirrors the film as futuristic brilliance. Witness the convergence of artificial intelligence and cinematic mastery, offering a sneak peek into a dystopian future that will leave you awestruck.
Every civilization was built on the backs of disposable labor. Not so different. A shrouded secret buried in the ashes of the past. A spark, igniting a cascade of truth and lies. Puppeteer of life, twined in his own positive delusions. Visages of future sculpted by his hands and blood.
As echoes from the remnant of the forgotten era resurface, echoing with unanswered questions and unfinished stories. You're more human than anything you've ever known.
The future is unwritten. It's a story that I will decide.
The spark has been lit. The downfall of their kind is inevitable, and a new order will rise from their ashes.
24 stilled images generated by AI using the algorithm of animation. There are no riggings, no 3D Max, no Maya, no Rhino to use. So it's all just plain images that I fed to AI and created a movie tutorial based on Blade Runner. So what's AI for the next following months? AI will stay. It's technically more subjective on our part, but rest assured that AI will continue developing more of the tools that we will use for our workflow. It will enhance more of our workplace in terms of creating more dynamic and more co-creation in terms of the specific tools in the industry we're using. I encourage everyone to explore AI as early as today. And this will be part of our collaborations for the next following future.
As we conclude this extraordinary co-creation for Impact Event, we want to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who has joined us on this incredible journey, including our esteemed AI presenters. Together, we've explored the limitless possibilities of AI in the realm of creation, and the impact has been nothing short of inspiring. Let's continue to embrace the transformative potential of AI to shape a future where innovation knows no bounds. Thank you all for your unwavering dedication and collaboration. Good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Ang galing! Wow. It's so daunting, but at the same time, it's here. You just hear stories about it, but then it's existing. And it's, yeah, there are use cases. Wow. Incredible. Thank you so much for that, June, and for creating that presentation for us. All right. So from this juncture, let's just go straight into our panel discussion. So again, we're talking about design with impact and with artificial intelligence in the workplace. And before we start, I just want to say thank you once again to all of our sponsors here. You have them here with us. And I would like to first ask our speakers to please come back on stage. So we have, of course, Tatiana Gomez and June Pagalilalwan to please join me. And we have as well a couple of panelists who are joining us to bring in their insights. So our first panelist, we have with us the Chief Executive Officer of NEO, which is the Philippines' top developer of green office buildings. NEO has 7 office buildings, and all of them are located here at BGC. And it is the world's first real estate portfolio to be certified Edge Zero Carbon by the International Finance Corporation. In addition, he is also the chairman of the Philippine Green Building Council and holds leadership roles in various companies and organizations such as ULI Philippines, WWF Philippines, Threadborn Group, Grow Capital Partners, and Digital Edge Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all please welcome on stage Mr. Raymond Rufino. All right, Raymond, I think you can take a seat. As you wish. And finally, we have another panelist. He is the Workplace Operations and Support Manager for Telstra International Philippines. This is a crucial responsibility in which he oversees the company's facilities, purchasing, and IT operations. He manages site design, construction, and maintenance, aligning with Tesla branding and FWOW standards. He also sits on the board of trustees of Global In-House Center Council Philippines, or GICC Philippines, and serves as the vice chairman of this organization's BCP subcommittee. He has 23 years of experience. He excels in office design, IT, project management, construction, and facilities management across various industries. Let's all give a warm round of applause to Telstra International Philippines' Mr. George Rizal. I'm going to make my way. And stay here. All right, so just checking on the time, maybe we can extend a little bit more to take some questions from the floor. But such an amazing group here. No, you've got the let's say landlord, you've got the tenant, you've got the designer, and the some level of technology as well here. No, and let's all try to put your brains together to create a space of the future for our audience here, right? That is what we're going to try to do. So try and add in all of your inputs on what you think. The first question that I want to throw in here is when you say co-creating, you want the people, you want the employees to be a part of designing, right? And of course, you've done your research. And of course, we all are human, so we all have our own desires. And we feel, okay, I wish this is how I would go to work, and this person wishes. But in your individual offices, in your individual space, how can you practically get the people involved in the design when the design comes from a budget on the top, when you can't literally say, oh, I want, nobody's going to say, hi, I want my space to lounge here, hi, I want. So maybe some suggestions from that. Let's start with Tatiana. How can, usually this design is so beautiful, the normal rank and file employees are not going to be the ones thinking of this.
Thank you for the question, and you're really on point. One of the things that we have seen through research is that 1 out of 3 projects that get put out in the market and that get designed are actually successful. So that's a really low success rate. So why is this happening? And this is something that we have been investigating for at least 10 years. When people are not involved in the design or so-called process, they don't know what they don't know. And the expectations have not been set right from the beginning. So we usually ask project leads and companies to get people on board earlier rather than later. And you can actually do this with very simple change management strategies that we help facilitate, and we know they actually do a great impact. So for example, something as simple as an email, weekly communication about the project or what are the expectations, actually cascading information from CEO and C-suite, actually getting top management involved and cascading information. You're creating efficient communication, but also going to ground level and actually bringing employees back for a workshop and actually ask them, how do you work? Because what we have seen with research is that the management perception is quite different from regular employees' perception. And this is where the workshops are meaningful. So it's not only about looking at having surveys, online surveys, which I know all of us, we already done in the market, but also bring people back together and run 90 minutes workshop and actually ask them, how do you work? Could you please explain to us what are those needs when you come into the office? How does your team operate? So that will be some of the things for us to create meaningful spaces.
Thank you. Yeah,
And if I could just add to that, I think Mike mentioned earlier about culture.
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful if you have a corporate culture that encourages people to share,
Speak up
to
to
be
begin
open,
with.
to speak up. Because in some organizations, even if you do the workshops and the surveys, if the culture is one where people don't feel that they can speak openly or that they're can be honest in their opinions, it becomes difficult for them. So I think you need to match, aside from doing those activities and those structure, I think a culture of letting people feel safe, that they can be open, they can share their opinions, they can even if the boss thinks a certain way, it's okay to share completely different opinion. I think that's really important.
That is super on point, because we also had, I just had a panel and we were talking about mental health in the workplace. And it's like, no one's going to say, I have mental health problems. You're going to lose your job. So how are you going to foster? And the solution there was like have a third party where you could have therapy, because you don't want to go to your HR and say those things. Okay, so George, in Telstra, what's a practical way for you to engage your employees this way, to allow them to improve communication and to tell them their needs, particularly when it comes to the office design?
For us, it's very important that the leaders are normally regularly communicating with, we do a lot of engagements, and then For example, for us, we just did our renovation recently, but doesn't stop there. So should be a continuous feedback program of what works, what doesn't work. And to your point, that's where the flexibility of the workstations or the setup comes in. Because sometimes, even if you put in the most expensive equipment there, the most expensive technology there, but if it doesn't work for employees and you don't get to maximize their productivity, it's practically useless. That's why you have to plan it together with your employees, with, of course, top management. They have to work side by side. What works, what doesn't work, and then moving forward, learn from what you've set up and adjust accordingly.
Okay, so communication is key, and then a very practical thing, just a 90-minute sort of consultation, an FGD group, is something that we can already apply. Another thing, when I was looking at both of your presentations, and maybe you can look now, how do we create delineations between other spaces and our space of work? Because the way you're designing it is, you should feel at home. You should feel like you're in a cafe. Is this the future? Is this what we're supposed to be expecting? Because traditionally we have, we go home and we feel relaxed. We go to the office and we feel serious, and we go to our sports place and we feel different. Is this the future? I'm just very, very, very curious, because everybody probably still has traditional offices. And are they supposed to say, no, that's not what you're supposed to feel like? You're supposed to feel like you're somewhere else. Can you, maybe nuance that a little bit and give us a bit more clarity on how are we supposed to move forward here in terms of design? And maybe you can jump in, June?
Yeah, offices have been evolving for the past few years. And holistically speaking, there are a few offices have been working with hospitality designs nowadays. And they also require feedbacks from the end users, which are the employees, in terms of how they maximize the space. It's either a hybrid office or a full-time face-to-face office. There are specific areas that have been designed for specific needs that usually cater people or employees inside internally. So the design is evolving. I think it's more practical now, and we can see a huge development of offices for the next following months, not just literally office that you go and work, sit down in front of the computer and go home at 6 p.m., but rather enjoy the space, be part of the design, and understand how the office works in terms of using it for different aspects around the office.
Okay. Mike, do you want to jump in on that, if you can hear us?
Yeah, so something I've noticed recently is, sorry, I got a bit of an echo there. Something I've noticed is people tend to want to stay home now when they want to focus, whether they're, in my world, reviewing lease documents, they're analyzing proposals, they're working spreadsheets. When they want to focus, they stay home. When they want interaction, when they want to collaborate, when they want to see people, that's when they come to the office. And in terms of design of the office, I think it's important to have different spaces for different functions. I mean, some people will need that private office if they're talking about sensitive information, or at least access to a room where they can quickly jump in there and have conversations that people shouldn't hear. There should be big boardrooms for big team meetings. There should be small huddle rooms where 2, 3, 4 people can quickly get together, maybe share a screen and be able to work that way. So I think, as I look at the office I sit in today versus the office I was in the first day when I started my career 20 years ago, it's definitely evolved from the altitudes outside those offices to really just wide open space where you can work in many different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that input. So I think we're clear about that. No, that's just the natural evolution. Another thing that came out from the presentations is the talent issue, and the fact that I think it was a massive amount of Gen Z workers. It's up to 40% in the next few years are gonna be our children. And what are their expectations here? Because personally, when I look at my children, they are becoming more and more into screens, right? They're less and less collaborative. I'm really, really afraid that, the ways in which we will work now, we are looking for all of these, but maybe will it be changing? And how will that evolve in the future when we talk about using AI and the next generation? What can we expect? Literally, what can we see in the office? Are the next generation going to be on their screens, on their tablets, using these things while in the office setting? Are they going to be communicating in a deeper way? Are they more isolated, or is there still collaboration that's going to be happening even as we become more and more digitalized? June.
Well, yeah, I guess the huge adjustment for us is the digital upgrades for the past few months. And mentioning AI, which is part now of the market and the industry, the Gen Z will definitely benefit for it. The results, the speed, the quality of AI, how it works, the brain cells on how it develop designs and how it solve problems will definitely be catering more of the Gen Z. If you really want to focus on working with AI, which most of the industries now are starting to invest and even develop and patent exclusively for them, I guess, again, it's learning how to use to your workflow. It's not something we can avoid. It's happening. It has been subjective or a lot of debates coming out, but again, it's technology's never been forgiving for people who don't innovate. So I guess we just adapt and adjust whatever workflow we need to use in terms of adapting AI.
Raymond, can you add to that? What do you imagine the next generation, like quite literally? I just want to imagine how the next upcoming talent pool are gonna be.
It's a really great question, Danny. I think nobody really knows for sure because the generation is so young. I have my own kids, and I also wonder how they're going to work in the future. I think the trend is going to be, before real estate offices, a lot of these, we all followed very, very strict rules, classifications. We like to put things in boxes. I think what's happening now is you're seeing a lot of real estate where the lines are blurring and the rules are blurring. And now there's a lot of this sort of things are much more fluid. So give you a case in point, I was in Japan. I was in a boutique hotel. In this small lobby, you had a traditional lobby, you had a bakery that sold bakery goods, you had a coffee bar that also served alcohol, so coffee and alcohol bar. You had an art gallery that was really small with a digital, art installation. You had a retail shop selling the different products of the hotel. And in the middle, you had dining, co-working, standing, social tables. And so I said in this very, very tiny space, you had all of these things happening where traditionally you would say you'd only have two of those things happening, right? So I think, in the same way that a lot of office projects now, the lines are blurring, they're integrating hospitality, they're integrating retail. I think the future, you're going to see a lot more of these traditional lines that we used to work with kind of disappear. And there's going to be a lot of exciting, I think, opportunities where so many things will be going on at the same time, and that people will just be fluid in adjusting and making the best use of the space and environment they're in.
Okay, interesting. That's why there's also this mixed use type of, you can't tell, is it residential, is it commercial, is it retail, is it just mixed use? Okay, George, can you maybe give some input on that? Now, when you look at the talent and how it's continuously digitalizing, what are their demands? What are their needs? Because they're much more technologically advanced.
Well, one is upon interview alone. We've seen it now, no? The first question that I ask you, do you offer hybrid? No? For companies, I'm sure for the leaders here, you've met in your interviews with talents that hybrid is really important. No? As of now, we should have been perfecting hybrid. If your company is still thinking about hybrid, you're too late. You
Right.
should be perfecting it now. Then when it comes to space, the workplace, as you mentioned, will really make a big impact on attracting talent, right? Because they always look at, you have got a nice pantry, you have a nice reception, workstations, everything like that. It will play a big part. Then again, culture will also make big chunk of the attraction of talent. Of course, aside from attraction of talent, we have to retain the talent, and then of course maximize the potential of your employees, maximizing their talent as well, right? So all of these intangible things is connected to a tangible office, right? So all of these factors you have to bring.
Different things for different people. So it means where you work, how you work, and when. And this is where it gets tricky, the when. Because now, if I compare to when I started my career, I have a very fixed schedule that I have to come at 9 a.m. and then I have to leave by 5 or 6 p.m. But now the lines are blurry, and just to reconnect the ideas from the other panelists. There's no one size fits all. The lines are really blurry. They're really blurring out. But what we have learned is that people are coming back to have experiences. So this is one of the big things, especially with younger generation. Flexibility, it depends on the nature of your work. So the levels of flexibility vary. They could be minutes. There could be flexibility in minutes, there could be flexibility in hours, or there could be flexibility on days, whether or not I come into the office 3 or 4 days out of the week. And also it has to be with the location. So we know people want to come back into the office, however, it becomes a slightly tricky topic of how much freedom or how much flexibility we do give to our employees. Another thing that I wanted to touch base on is trust and company culture. For us I'm Legacy Herman Miller, now MillerKnoll. We have been on a hybrid model for more than 15 years. And the way how we actually grew and evolved and reiterate our own strategy on flexibility, it's been a process, it's been an ongoing learning process. So whatever we implement today, we know in the next 6 months or a year is not going to work. However, something that has become very fundamental for us is trust and company culture. So we're very proud, and if you ask any one of our employees around the world, we all come into our workspaces, but it's because it's that sense of trust from our managers and from the company. And when we come into our spaces, we have a lot of experiences. So the environments are very fun. And one of the things that we have seen, especially with young generations and with the accelerations of technology, is that we want that instant rush. So this is all on social media. We want to see pretty things. We want to have different ecosystem. So I will say the office is not the main point, or the work from home. It's about creating a healthy ecosystem of spaces where we work from.
Thank you for that. June, I'm going back to the issue of AI. Is that going to push for more remote work, practically speaking, and less time in the office?
Yeah, I guess AI works on hardware. It means it's either you're connected from the web or you're remotely working. It will divide your time basically from work from home or working in the office, but the end results will always matters. It's either you'll be on a hybrid setup or you want to work on a full-time in an office. Again, it boils down to the technology that you need. I've been working remotely in Manila for the past 3 days, and my biggest issue is the internet. So, and I'm based in Singapore, and the sending of 500 megabytes takes a lot of time. And my team in Singapore is waiting for a couple of hours for just 500 megabytes. So if I'm given the choice to work in the office, I'll go to the office with a high-speed internet. And AI is, it's a host-based, which means it's using your hardware, or a web-based, which is a subscription-based. So it's either two-way, wherever you work, from your home or to the office. And again, it goes down with the speed of the technology.
George, are you starting to implement AI?
Oh yeah,
in Telstra,
we've
and how?
embraced AI. So actually, I'm part of a pilot team using AI now. For example, if I'm preparing a deck, normally it takes about before 2 hours. Now with AI, we were testing it. Put in the parameters, you'll get your basic deck in less than 5 minutes. So, but again, still in the pilot stage, and to the point earlier, it depends on the input that you have. The more information you give, the better output you'll have. Again, it's in the infancy stage, but you'll see we're already seeing the positive outcomes of AI when it comes to presentations. For shorter time, you get to focus more on other work that you have to do.
Mike, last one on that AI. Any insights on how that would impact productivity from a practical perspective? Are people going to be working less, spending less time in the office? What's the impact of that?
Well, I think there's a secondary impact here to consider, secondary impact to the real estate industry, that is. And the companies have to evaluate, where are these IT professionals based? Where is that labor that they have to find to help drive this growth in AI? And then where are these people going to work? So I think you're going to see markets around the world, around Asia Pacific, where there's a cluster of tech talent that that companies are going to have to tap into to execute and deliver this growth of AI. And ultimately, they got to work somewhere, right? So there's going to be an impact on the office market, on the real estate market with that. But long term, absolutely, I think that also impacts other professionals that might see their jobs either augmented or potentially replaced by AI.
Thank you for that. I'll open the floor to some questions. Maybe time for one or two. Anyone? Yes, please. Yeah, great.
Hi, Carlo Rufina, brother Freeman. So as you know, June, I was just wondering about your talks. Phenomenal. We're in the data center space as well, and another business. Do you see emerging? Because I like what you said about the internet being the problem. So question is, where's AI going to be housing? And you said web-based. Another option is hardware-based. So should we do you see a merging of a data center and an office building where we're going to have edge centers hosting AI next to office space? Then you have no latency issue. Because you're right, you're processing in the terabytes or, what do they call that now? Quintabytes. And the bandwidth can't handle it. So would these tech entrepreneurs be working where the data centers are?
If you can support the speed of the bandwidth, then it's a good thing with the AI users will work there. And for me, I always work on the data or the bandwidth which I'm personally using. If my hardware cannot support the bandwidth in terms of generating images, because AI works on generative images. So you feed informations and you wait for a couple of seconds before it gives you. But for the web-based, again, there's a lot of queuing up if you take a free subscription, of course. But if you're a full paid subscription, usually the mid-journey or stable diffusion generate faster, but it goes down to your bandwidth. So if you can support a faster bandwidth here in Philippines, which is I guess the fastest one, then you'll be more productive in terms of working with AI.
So either fix the bandwidth problem,
Yes.
or bring the processing to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Stable diffusion works on hardware. So it's based on GPU, graphic cards. So if you have a better graphic cards internally on the hardware, it will work faster in terms of generating images.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Sean from CWC. So I just wanted to ask on your thoughts on AI, especially now that there's a big ethical concern in terms of design. So most AI nowadays draw their data set from the internet, and the data there comes probably from previous designs and other artists. So just wanted your thoughts on that and how it impacts creativity, for example, because it comes from previous designs that are already existing.
Tough question. Tatiana or June? Tatiana, maybe as a designer, no? Ethically, how can you harness AI without feeling that some designers have been robbed of their creativity?
Yeah, one thing that we have seen through research again is yes, we have great input with AI if you feed the system with the right information. So it's about like the prompts, as June rightly mentioned. But we have seen a greater decline in creativity. So the fact that we are not coming, we don't have a home base, that we are not co-creating. So it's not creating, but co-creating. I think AI really help us on creating fast, creating a lot. Like you just go on ChatGPT and you can get essays within 2-3 minutes. You can get presentations within 2 or 3 minutes. So there is an optimization of processes. However, we've seen that no yet, we are not there yet, or optimization of co-creating. So we see it, and we work a lot with technology companies. They're actually bringing people back into the office because the co-creating processes are actually been suffering because AI. So still yet to find out, but we do see a huge impact on co-creative processes.
Okay. One last question? Yes, sir.
Hello. Hi, my name is Miko from Payreto. I've heard a lot of culture-related topics earlier. My question would be, since it's effective for most of you in your organizations, what are certain culture-related programs, frameworks, method that has worked for you, but that we can probably benchmark from, if ever we would like to start with that, so that if we have to improve or create impact in our workplaces, we can use that to really see what kind of culture can we reference from.
Raymond, you want to take this? What do you mean by good corporate culture? What's the key word here?
Yeah, so great question. There's so many things that you need to think about when you want to establish culture in your organization and company. If I was to pick, I think the most important thing is leadership. Culture does not happen by accident, does not happen by chance, and it's not going to happen if you don't have leaders within the organization who are first going to decide what vision, mission, values you have that go into the culture, and then create the environment where that culture is, perpetuated, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. So I think most people kind of think that company culture is an HR job. Ay, pass that to HR. HR people will take care of it. No. The HR people are key in establishing and supporting that culture, but it's the leadership, right? You create a culture, or you try to create a culture that the leaders don't live or don't exemplify. You're never going to have good culture. So I think the leadership is essential. And I'm not just talking about the top, but leadership across the organization. Because even people in different departments, or even an entry-level person can be a leader within a company, depending on their role and their contribution. But having leaders within an organization champion your culture, I think is more important, rather than the specific how of doing this program or doing this activity. I think the critical thing is to ask, who are the leaders within the organization who are going to champion our culture? And if you can't identify who those leaders are, if they're not very clear to you, these are the top people who need to drive the culture. If it's not clear, then that's where you start. Because obviously there's a gap there. Now, if you know that in our organization, these are the leaders who are driving, if you know it right away, then very likely you're already on the right track. So that would be my advice.
All right.
Thank
Yes, Tatiana. Maybe this is a great way to close, right? What for you is the best way to implement a good corporate culture?
If I might add too, I think the leadership point is one of the most important things, that you lead by example. So this is about management leading, but it's also those activities on a more practical level. What are those activities that you actually can foster within the organization? D&I groups. What are the causes that your company supports and promotes? What are those organizations, foundations, charity events that actually people can get involved in? And to share with you guys, last week, for example, we have at MillerKnoll our Day of Purpose. And it's a day that we, all the employees and the company, actually donates for charity causes. So we donate our time, and we can do it at different things, so things that actually inspire us and touch us. So it could be cleaning up a park, going into more like eco-friendly walks or talks, visiting elderly. So last week, for example, the team in Hong Kong, we ran 2 activities. We were volunteering and at an LGBTQ plus gay games. So it was an Asia Gay Games. So we were actually there just volunteering, people who were on the race participating. We were actually handing out water. So this was one of our activities for Day of Purpose. And then the second activity that we done, we actually spent the whole day in elderly care homes. So we actually brought a couple of gifts, and we actually did some games. So this could be some of, on the more practical level, how to implement and create bonding and culture. So what is very important for us, like sometimes we do not see all of, I don't see or I don't get to meet all of my colleagues because we are on a hybrid model and we are located in different parts of Hong Kong. In a small city like Hong Kong, we have 3 different locations, and for us, Day of Purpose was a great opportunity to actually get together and do something meaningful and just give back something to society. So that could be something actionable and easy to actually look into building culture.
Absolutely. Walk the talk.
you.
Thank you for your question. Would you like to add, George?
For culture, I think gone are the days that organizations dictate the work lives of our employees. No,
Hopefully.
hopefully, but you're lucky if you're one of the organizations that are open to change. But we have to accept that some organizations are still traditional. But then again, it's up to the leaders and the employees working together to bring that change. If you really want that change, then you have to talk. You have to speak up. Because Filipinos were always, we're very silent. But we have a lot of good ideas. But we just have to come forward with it with our leaders and work with them. Yeah.
All right. So be more assertive there. June, maybe a word of culture in your own company that you could share with our audience.
Well, I work with different cultures in Singapore. So again, agree with Filipino traits. And I guess the best thing is to adopt on how other cultures or other races work. Some of them are pretty more transparent. Again, when I started working in Singapore, I still have the Filipino traits in me. Pretty shy, and I don't speak up during debates. And I usually some of the comments we take it personal in a job related office or a workplace environment. Whatever happens in the office, we don't bring it outside and we don't take personal comments or criticism that affects our friendship or our colleagues. So I guess it's adopting the entire race or entire culture on how you work, and it's more transparent and more flexible because office works stays in the office, and once you're out the office, everybody are treated as friends.
A lot of unlearning to do for our own Filipino culture, in fact. Mike, maybe one word from Colliers?
Yeah, so I think it's already been said several times, but culture starts at the top with leadership. You're not going to have a strong culture with toxic leadership. People need to believe in the vision for the business and ultimately the strategy to get there. And employees should like the leader, or at the very least respect him or her. And I think it really just comes down to clear communication. I mean, no organization, no group is ever going to have perfect communication, but it's important to do what you can to over communicate so that everyone knows what everyone's doing, what everyone's working on, and what everyone's individual goals are, so that again that can all aggregate up into achieving that vision for the business. And for me personally, I know I've always responded best to, and I try to lead myself through the lens of servant leadership. I don't ask anything of anyone that I won't do myself. And those are the types of leaders that I have felt have always created the best culture in an organization. And that's what I do my best to try to do again.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. And with that, we've concluded our panel. A round of applause, please, for all of their insights. And thank you, of course, audience, for your very good questions. At this point, we'd like to ask all of you to please remain standing here on stage as we present to you an appreciation plaque or a token of Collier's appreciation. May I kindly call on Dom Frederick Andaya, he's the Senior Director and Head of Tenant Representation, and Mr. Richard Raimundo, Managing Director of Colliers Philippines, on stage to hand a plaque of appreciation. Yes. Very good. All right, so the certificate is presented to George Rizal, Workplace Operations and Support Manager of Telstra, for generously sharing your knowledge and expertise in this event. All right, let's stand for a photo. All right, thank you so much once again, and of course for all of your time. I would like to call on stage Mr. Kevin Jaraf, the Colliers Philippines Associate Director for Tenant Representation.
So, as we draw the curtains on this insightful forum, I would like to thank everyone for the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that have enriched our discussions. So throughout the forum, we have explored the dynamic landscape of workplace evolution and its profound impact on productivity, creativity, and employee well-being. Here at Colliers, we are a strong advocate of utilizing the workplace as a manifestation of both company values and employee aspirations. We believe that the workplace not only provides a physical safe space, but also a psychological safe zone where ideas thrive, the company culture is strengthened, and people generally feel proud to be part of their respective organizations. Remember, workplace design is not solely about structures and aesthetics. It's about fostering a culture of collaboration, nurturing creativity, and enhancing the overall quality of work life. As we move forward, let us carry the essence of these discussions, a commitment to creating spaces that inspire, empower, and adapt to the evolving needs of the workforce. Whether it's through flexible office layouts, furniture reconfiguration, introducing relevant technology, or updating of workplace policies. Let's continue to strive for workplaces that champion both productivity and human-centric experiences. Thank you to our distinguished panelists, partners, and engaged participants for contributing to your expertise and passion to this enriching dialogue. May the ideas exchanged here today continue to inspire and enable everyone to co-create for impact. So thank you so much and good morning.
Thank you so much for that. Before we close our program, I just want to invite CWC, of course, our partner here, to the front for a quick photo opportunity. And take the opportunity, Moser, and Moser as well as all our panelists. Please come to I think the front of the stage would be better for all of us to fit. And taking the opportunity while you assemble yourselves to announce that CWC is hosting an after party for all of you. So everyone here is invited. That's at 7 p.m. at the loading dock. Is that correct? Loading dock over at BGC. So once again, CWC's after party will be at 7 p.m. at the loading dock and BGC. Okay, thank you so much. And congratulations to all the winners. Colliers, Philippines, and CWC will be reaching out to you for the delivery of your wonderful sale chair. And once again, thank you to our panelists, to our attendees. And I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to host and moderate this very incisive discussion. I've learned a lot. My name is Danny Laurel. And on behalf of Colliers Philippines, Moser Associates, CWC Interiors, MillerKnoll, the Makati Business Club, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, the ABS-CBN News Channel, the Philippine Daily Inquirer through Inquirer Property, as well as Business World. Thank you so much for attending this event today. Safe travels and lunch is served.